Hello BookTube and welcome to part 6 of the science fiction and fantasy section of my 2020 library tour. Let's get started. Although we're moving on to a new bookcase, thankfully the ones I got from Walmart that are basically just simple open-ended shelves, they have the bottom shelf is very low to the ground and it's quite painful to stoop down to pick books up and put books back. Anyway, so let's get started with the next bookcase. This is one that my grandfather made about 26 years ago. First up is Luck in the Shadows, book 1 of the Night Runner series by Lynn Llewellyn. I had a later series by Lynn Llewellyn that included, I think it's the Bone Dolls twin, that I really liked. I haven't had it for ages though, but I've been looking forward to finally getting to this series, hopefully in the not too distant future. Next is book 2 in the Night Runner series, Stalking Darkness. And book 3, Traitorous Moon, all of which I picked up from Golden's Book Exchange over the course of several visits. Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny. I want to say I picked this up from the Friends at the Library Book Sale Nook. Although it could also be possible I picked it up from Golden's Book Exchange. The book cover is falling apart. The Ember Blade by Chris Wooding. Yeah. 3 books by J.Y. Yang, who I think now goes by Neon Yang. Black Tides of Heaven, which I have mixed opinions of this novella. It has its good parts, but it also kind of annoys me too. That I think it's more, the main character in this book, I don't think quite gets the attention they deserve compared to their twin. Given that the twin is pretty much more exclusively the main character in the sequel, The Red Threads of Fortune, which, so these two came out roughly the same time, and you could read them either which way. Black Tides of Heaven is a longer story in that it takes place over a longer period of time, largely the life of Mokoya and Akeha, while this one does take place, I think, after Black Tides of Heaven, and is more centered around Mokoya. And this is The Descent of Monsters, which is definitely a sequel to the other 2 books. And I think there's a prequel out that came out maybe a year or so ago. Next we have Girello Joinery by C.O. Moore. I finally read this a few months ago, and I quite like the stories, but they are kind of repetitive because they have the same basic plot beats. Hero by Perry Moore. This is a YA superhero novel about a young gay man with superpowers who eventually becomes a superhero. And the book was written in response to a spate of um, gay comic book characters, the few super gay superheroes around in the two main companies, Marvel and DC, were getting killed off. Particularly, I think for Marvel, around the time this book came out, or shortly before, the superhero North Star, who is the first um, gay superhero, was brutally murdered by Wolverine. I mean, he subsequently got better. And, I mean, it's comic books and it's superhero comic books. The only characters who actually stayed dead are like Uncle Ben. It used to be Uncle Ben and Jason Todd, but it's now basically just Uncle Ben. It's the only comic book character who will never be resurrected, I think. But I mean, pretty much it's like in comic books, everybody gets resurrected at some point or another. And also, I think there was a young hero called Freedom Ring who was also killed around this time. And so he sort of, as a reaction, wrote Hero, which took off, was quite popular. Unfortunately, Perry Moore died a few years before he could write a sequel or see a television adaptation of the book come out. Next is Sequel to Noise by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Oh, did they really have to put that on the cover? Anyway, yeah. So this is about magic. It's let me see here. It's about a young woman who let me just read the back. Okay. Mexico City, 1988. Meche is 15, awkward, and obsessed with music. Her world revolves around her two misfit friends, Sebastian and Daniela, and a stack of records. Then Meche discovers how to turn music into magic, and things take a turn for the strange. Mexico City, 2009. Meche returns home for her estranged father's funeral. Her family are troubled enough, but when she runs into Sebastian, long-buried childhood memories resurface. What really happened back then, and is there any magic left? I've been meaning to get to that book for a while, and so hopefully I'll get to it sooner rather than later. Next up is a short story collection, Third Class Superhero by Charles Yu, who obviously, if you know him, Charles Yu recently won the National Book Award for Interior Chinatown, which there's a story behind that, and I will tell you tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be my December book haul. Anyway, so this is Charles Yu's debut work. I think he wrote 2 short story collections, Third Class Superhero and another one, before he started writing novels, which seemed to be taking him about as long as it takes Donna Tartt to write a novel. Anyway, but yeah, the collection's quite uneven. I kind of liked Third Class Superhero. My Last Days as Me, I thought was really good. Some of the others are quite good, and some of them are a bit strange. Next up is Seven Princes by John R. Fowles. The Traitor Beru Cormorant by Seth Dickinson. This book is the first book in a series that I'm not entirely sure if I remember the name of. But it's about a Beru Cormorant who is basically from this island nation that's slowly taken over by this empire of masks. And she eventually joins them to seek the Empire's destruction. And in order to do that, she has to become basically a magnificent bastard, a scheming, manipulative villain. And I did not like this book at all. I thought the character just really doesn't quite work. She's too young for the role that she takes in this first book. And it just didn't quite work for me. And I'm probably not going to look into getting the rest of the series because I really did not like the Trade of Baru Cormorant. Next is Velocity Weapon by Megan E. O'Keefe. I read this a few years ago for Space Opera September. Well, I think it was last year. And I didn't quite get on with it. It's about a young woman who's lost on this abandoned space vessel who is trying to manipulate the AI of an opposing ship to take her home, and I didn't like it at all. So next are two books in the Mortal Instruments series, The City of Bones, that's Cassandra Clare, and City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. Picked them both up from Golden's Book Exchange. One of the Malazan Book of the Fallen series, Memories of Ice by Stephen Erickson. David Mogo Godhunter by Suyi Davies Okunboa. Okunboa. Looking forward to getting to this one. And there's a sequel coming out that sounds really amazing as well. That I pre-ordered. And finally, for this shelf, The Great Book of Amber by Roger Zelazny. This is an omnibus edition of the Amber Chronicles, books 1 to 10. Picked this up from... I'm not totally sure who I bought this from. Might have been from Golden's. Or... Anyway. So, yeah. So that wraps up part 6 of the science fiction and fantasy section of the 2020 library tour. I will be back tomorrow with parts 7 and 8 and also a book haul. And I'll probably be back here in a few minutes with a look forward to 2021, even though I wanted to do that next week, but I think I'll do it today. So anyway, BookTube, I will see you in a few minutes. And until then, thank you and have a great afternoon.